everybody. Welcome to My Favorite Shitty Movie. Super excited to be here tonight. This is, I guess we're doing something very special. If you're a Gen Xer, you probably remember a very special episode. And it'll be like Family Ties, where they deal with heroin or whatever. And that's what Gen Xers did to introduce you to problems that we still haven't solved. Tonight, we are actually doing the Newlywed Edition. My significantly better half, Kimberly Snyder, will be here to try to make sense of a 1997, I think we all agree, kind of wonderfully fun, perhaps cult classic to some film directed by Taylor Hackford called The Devil's Advocate. That's right. Even the devil has a lawyer. We're going to get into that. I'm so excited to talk about this. We were talking a little bit before the show about how much fun the 90s were, that you could still do kind of big, fun, entertaining movies, take a chance on young stars, that give them a vehicle that lets them shine. It should not just be, Glenn Powell territory in 2025. More folks should get the opportunity. So we're going to talk about that. I also want to do a shameless plug because, why not, right? Todd and I both have books that we're going to be here to promote. Mine is called Cinema Bizarro. I contributed 5 chapters. It's a celebration of monster kid fun. The legit film is probably the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but then there's also wonderful, silly films like, Jesse James Meets Frankenstein's Daughter, which is weird because it's actually his granddaughter. Anyway, sometimes titles mislead you. I want to bring Todd up so he can tell you about his book that he wrote, the whole thing that is also out that you can purchase. Todd, would you please bring yourself into the program? Hello.
Hi, Tracy. Hi. Thank you. Also, I'm a Giant Beast Cinema fan from way back. I have the original. Yes. It remains on my coffee table. I've read it, but it remains out for people to look at. So I'm very excited about to get the second one. My book is a novel.
It's a real book.
It's a horror novel called Murder Valley, and you can get it, on Amazon. Sorry, I have to put you in partnership with Jeff Bezos, but it's the cheapest way to self-publish. I don't know what else to do.
I know, but it's for the good. It's for the good.
It is for the good. It's a story about crows attacking Simi Valley, where I live currently.
Is that a metaphor, or did you just mean it as when animals attack?
It's just I meant it as when animals attack, but when I've reread it, I'm like, well, people are going to take this as a metaphor, and it's fine if you do. If you don't, yeah. It's not political in narrative, but the narrative involves political creatures.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
So it's like a murder of crows. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that attack Simi Valley. Yeah.
It's good to work these things out in the written word. Instead of playing along at home, don't do that at home.
Leave it to the crows.
So
the crows will do it.
We're going to talk about Taylor Hackford's The Devil's Advocate. Todd, when did you first see the movie?
I saw it in 97 with the woman who I was living with in Sin at the time.
Kendall.
Hillary, who is my wife now.
Yeah.
So it turned out, the living in Sin turned out fine. But yeah, we saw it and we worked it out the other night. We're like, wait a sec. So when did you? I saw it in the theater. I know I did. And so we were together when, we must have seen it. And then once that opened up the floodgates of memory, and I was like, oh yeah. I had exactly the reaction to this movie I thought I would have in 97. Hillary, of course, loved it because it was cheesy and over the top, and I was aggravated with it because it was cheesy and over the top at the time. And obviously, because Hill liked it, we've since got it on the DVD, and seen it a bunch of times. And retrospectively, there was a lot about Keanu Reeves in the 90s that I did not understand. And some of it I wanted to like, but didn't necessarily like at first go. But then later I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, this is just entertainment. It's not anything more or less. The
I
Devil's
went to the theater too. It was one of those you went with friends opening night. The trailer was amazing. It was like Al Pacino chewing all the scenery, coming, I
Oh
think,
yeah,
near his
yeah.
win for Son of a Woman. He finally got the Oscar for Screaming, and he's never stopped since, I would argue.
No,
this-
I know, and that was the. I mean, The Scent of a Woman, Al Pacino was the Al Pacino that lost me in
Mhm.
particular. I was like, what is this? Like, what are we doing? Given like Godfather Part 2, obviously, but a number of movies after that, including Serpico, where like he's on edge. He's a dude on edge, but he's not over the top. And then there's Carlito's Way and The Devil's Advocate and all this
he's
stuff.
he's working his way up.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, let's jump into it. I want to introduce literally my favorite person on the planet, Kimberly Snyder. She is really a brilliant scientist by day who is just playing in this demented game to help us out tonight. We actually got married a couple months ago. Todd was there to see the whole thing, so it's like legal and fun. But she also has a wicked sense of humor about films that are so bad, sometimes they're deliciously fun. This was her choice tonight, and I'm so glad she picked it. I want to introduce the amazing Kimberly Snyder and my wife to the program. Hello, Kimberly.
Hey,
Hello.
congratulations,
Hello.
you're newlyweds.
I'm a newlywed.
It wasn't official until you guys were on the show.
Now it's official.
Oh.
Now it's an official wedding. So
Okay.
I pronounce you wife and wife.
Oh, good. See, it's all working.
I probably should have watched the show once or twice before coming on.
Nope.
What
Nope.
is research? What is research?
It's better this way because this way it's about the movie, and
Yes.
that's what it should be about.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you what, so many people were so happy that you picked this movie, Kim.
Yeah.
Like the amount of love, like, oh yeah, this movie's great. I know it's not good, but it's great.
Yeah.
And that like is a special thing when all the shitty movie people like get it's shitty enough, but it's also awesome.
And we've all seen it, probably own it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like macaroni and cheese. It's comfort food. You know it's not good for you, but you love it anyway.
Would you do a double feature? This is what we've done more than once. A double feature of The Devil's Advocate and Constantine.
Oh.
So you get Keanu Reeves battling Satan, different like dueling over the top Satans.
Yes.
You know?
It's clearly one is practice for the next.
And like the same kind of costume, basically. Like, it's like even the haircut. You're like, what film am I looking at? I don't know. It could be either one. Amazing. So Kim, when did you see it in the theaters for the first time?
I did. Yes, I did. I was living in Pittsburgh and went to see it in the theater there.
All right. And what do you remember? Did you love it, hate it, think it was campy? What was your first take on it?
I love it. I love this film. I've seen it many times. As you know, as we were prepping for tonight, I was saying lines before they happened, and I think you were a little bit shocked.
It was awesome.
Yes. Are we negotiating?
Oh,
Always.
Yes.
So I loved it. I know it's over the top. I know that the graphic, like CGI attempts are not aging terribly well, shall we say. But all in all, it's just fun and cute little baby Charlize with her little chubby cheeks. And
oh my God, I said this same thing to Hillary while we were watching it. I was like, she's rail thin in this movie because they do full body shots of her, but yet she's got this cute little pudge in her face. And I was like, that's a time for youth.
Yeah. I mean, I think we did the math. Like she was barely 21 when they were shooting this, kind of around there. But it's funny because I remember seeing this, and I believe it was I think I had seen her. She had a small part in Woody Allen's Celebrity, but this is the first movie where I was like, who is that? Because she's, I mean, obviously like looks like a movie goddess Hollywood's yesteryear. She's an Amazon. She's so gorgeous, but she has such presence. And I think you see the beginning of her becoming a really good actress. And I would argue, and we'll get into this, that the writing of this character perhaps is not, I don't know that Meryl could have done a great job.
No, it's not. It wasn't fair to her the way it was written. She was written to be a stereotypical histrionic wife.
Yeah.
But the thing I noticed about this movie, and what's bad about it really is the writing, and the dialogue is terrible. But like, she delivers it all and manages not to be
embarrassing,
shrill, and annoying, which I can't think of an actress, certainly at this era, but maybe at any era, who could have done what she did with what she was given. She's really good. I mean, she's asked to go to these incredible levels that actors shouldn't be asked to go to with a movie like The Devil's Advocate. It's not fair. Like, she was weighting everything else in the movie. Like, without her, Pacino's ludicrous performance wouldn't be as ludicrous, and it wouldn't be as funny. And it's because it's weighted by her performance going through the worst shit that any character in this movie is.
But it is of its time. Is one of the things Kim and I were talking about last night when we saw it again. Like, obviously this is 20 some odd years before Me Too, and but we're still not believing women. We're still saying women are hysterical. We're still not paying attention to anything. But it really, like, there's all kinds of like racial tropes here. But what's odd is that the two writers that are credited with this, one, Tony Gilroy, who is coming, I think maybe the most literate thing ever associated with Star Wars being, was it Ardor or whatever, like he wrote that, Nightcrawler. He's the one who kind of figured out how to get Jason Bourne smart for a new generation. He's one of our better writers. He's hired at very expensive rates per week to rewrite things. And then Jonathan Lemkin, who did, smart films or TV shows like Hill Street Blues, who then also segued into films. So it's weird, but they're adapting from a novel that came out in 1990 that went through different incarnations, I suppose, before Taylor Hackford got a hold of it. But so you had a source material of an accomplished bestseller, and then you had this cast that was assembled, and really good writing, but writers, but then yet this is what happened. But I know, Kim, you did some research about some of the ins and outs of the background of it.
Well, totally different ending in the book. So the writers kind of made up both really elaborate storylines and the ending of the movie in general. It kind of went off the rails compared to the relatively benign ending of the book. So, I think.
All right. Well,
there was no, in the book, there's no, It's a Wonderful Life, Scrooge type
thing. There's no brothers, stepsister relationship going on, and the overall there's no father-son relationship going on in the book. I mean, big differences there.
Oh, okay. So what in the book, what is he? He's just a lawyer who falls in with Satan, and
yes.
So the deals are all the same. It's just the stakes aren't as high in the novel because he's not related.
The stakes aren't as high, and of course he doesn't have to go to the extreme that he goes to in the movie to kind of break the cycle, shall we say?
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting because they were saying to sell the book. I mean, it was a bestseller, which helps. But also, like, the premise of, like, there's a young lawyer who goes to work for somebody who just happens to be Satan. But the cynicism inherent with, there's even a line that is in the movie, right, where at the end Pacino's saying, look, he's like, there are more people studying law than there are lawyers right now. This is our century. This is where we're at. The 20th century belongs to the lawyers, so it makes sense that we're the firm that gets all the bad guys off and we never lose. Because inherent in that is the world is kind of maybe a dark place, which some of us might feel in our contemporary contemporary hellscapes, or perhaps this will be evergreen. But I love the idea that if the thesis of the film was last century was all for the lawyers, these lawyers, a lot of them have graduated to be federal judges and perhaps some of the Supreme Court. So in a weird way, you could read it as a contemporary tale of law and disorder, perhaps. But it was just a fun thing to kind of revisit. But let's jump in because it has been a minute, and we go back to 1997.
It's a very exploitative movie.
Oh yeah,
which struck me. Because I had just watched Anora for the first time before rewatching this, and I was like, this seems like an exploitation movie to me. Anora did. And then I watched this, and I was like, oh, no, maybe it's a tone thing. I don't know.
Yeah, no. But this is that thing where, you still have lead characters smoking cigarettes because Rob Reiner hadn't done My Best Friend's Wedding, like no more smoking kind of thing that he had in the Crusade, the late 90s. But we're also going into the new century. Everyone is starting to panic about Y2K. And it was the era of Scott Turow bestsellers. We had, Tom Cruise in The Firm. Later you would have Matt Damon with Coppola doing was it The Rainmaker or something? So it's like, you had like all these kind of lawyer things, but you also had this end of the century thing. So I think of things.
What's the one with Matthew McConaughey and Sandra Bullock? What's that?
Time to Kill. Another one with Joel Schumacher. But you also had like End of Days. Gabriel Byrne. Sager trying to save us. So you had this kind of era of fear about what was coming next, and young lawyers that were supposed to save us from the baddies, whether they
or cops, one of the two. Stigmata is another one. I feel like
Stigmata, which we've done on this show, absolutely. So there's that era of kind of supernatural thriller. So it was an interesting time, but I think this film comes out in the context of that. And I know with some of the conversations that we were having that this is also against the backdrop of the recent O.J. Simpson trial. So we had celebrity lawyers and celebrity, they were following lawyers around as if they were the celebrities, like the F. Lee.
I think for the record, I think O.J. Simpson was guilty.
Yeah. I think the odds are pretty good.
Clarified that.
I just want you to know that that's what I think.
Yeah, that the way to be on the put your neck around there. That was an uncomfortable metaphor. I apologize for that. Let's go to the summary of as best as we can. Kim, how does this film open?
Well, this film it is focused on Kevin Lomax, who is a up-and-coming attorney, kind of star in his area, known for what we will soon find out, known for picking juries. And he is defending his obviously guilty client.
Who's dressed like a sex predator.
Looks like a sex predator because he is a sex predator.
He was on True Blood too. He was delightful as a dummy on that.
He looked so familiar to me, and I'm like, why is this guy familiar?
He's one of the that guys that are in the book of that guys.
Big character actor.
Always working. God bless him.
But he's got this special skill, right? Where he reads people allegedly really well. He doesn't lose, and he's representing people, but he gets noticed. So we start to see, just in case we wondered who this guy is, he has a big name, says press, which even in the 90s, people didn't do that. But so now we know who he is. And so what happens? So he gets off the, creeper.
So his client does get off. But he is clearly guilty, and there's a rather disgusting scene of him fingering the table, which
it goes on so long. This movie is over 2 hours by a good number of minutes. Yeah. And so much of that running time is taken up with this guy rubbing the table. in a gross way. It's like, yeah, I get it. He's fucking gross. Stop doing
Slap
that.
you in the face.
Yeah, but also it's like this weird thing because we set up that he's really good, but like his wife is hanging out watching him ostensibly get creepers off. So it's this weird way to introduce a young couple, perhaps.
It is, but I also really appreciate her character's entire support of her husband, regardless of what he's doing. She's
Right.
just 100% cheerleader. Who has that? Who has that kind of stuff?
Oh, Jimmy, JD about furniture fondling from this film. I think that's a good working theory. It's no sofa is safe.
Because
Amazing.
this movie is built on, I would suggest, male pornographic fantasies as, you know, what Satan wants to trick you
Why
with.
do you say that?
Well, I mean, I just mean Charlize Theron, just what I'm saying about her being such a cheerleader to a guy who's doing horrible things.
I also
But he's winning, and she's 100% like, yeah, because she loves
in his
him.
corner.
And so we open, and he's like, you know, this like big deal lawyer in small town kind of, or Gainesville, I guess, Florida. So
Gainesville. Yeah,
Gainesville, Florida. And so, you know, but he
It's a
starts
great
making
place.
himself. So-
Visit Gainesville, Florida.
And so then this is one of the, and again, so you have the Madonna whore thing always, right? So this is the good girl, Charlize, who in another time would have been a femme fatale, right? So we cast her as the nice supportive wife. And then, you know, after he wins, you know, Keanu wins, he goes to this bar and he gets this offer with a big check because we're supposed to believe that big fancy people from New York law firms, like white shoe law firms, come to Gainesville, Florida, because this guy doesn't lose. Which is kind of what people.
It's like the way they get football players.
All right.
It's the same thing. It's imagining the legal world works just like football,
Okay.
college football. You know,
This
or
is where they set up why there's absolutely horrible accents throughout the entire film. It's because
Nobody
they're from Florida.
commits. Nobody commits. Charlize is one thing in one scene, another thing in another scene. Keanu Reeves goes line to line on the Southern accent. I don't know why I turn down auditions where they're like, you need a Southern accent. I'm like, I don't want to insult anybody because I can't do that overnight.
Take all the auditions.
I'm an idiot. It's saying also if I have COVID, I'm just going to set. You know, that's it.
No,
That's
you
it.
can't do that.
That's where we're at, Tracy.
So in Florida, he has a mom who, of course, is a little Holly Hobby-esque.
A little religious trophy, to say the least, but she is definitely mom cites scripture. It is established that Keanu knows scripture.
Right. Yes, he's an expert.
He is an expert on the Bible and has studied it his entire life.
Oh my, you guys ask me anything, I'll tell you.
So he knows he should know better, but yet he spends his life getting bad guys off. But then we have to establish quickly, like they're like the cute love. By the way, mobile technology. Wow, 1997. Also, just the idea that like men were allowed to wear suits that weren't painted on them. Like, you know, like I was like, this suits actually are like flattering and they're not skin tight, and it was such a different era.
I love the 90s. I love each other. Movie stars like this movie has. It's so forced and there's no chemistry, but we're doing it anyway, and I love that. I think that's great.
Score one. So basically she's like, wow, we get to go to New York City, because we have to make sure that we're doing stereotypes with people in the South always. And so then he's like, Keanu's like, yeah, I've been brought in because I'm from Florida and I can read jurors better than the Manhattan people.
The Floridian legal pool is like, unmatched.
Exactly.
Unmatched.
With a straight face. Like Keanu is like cast as an expert. That's
Fletch's ex-wife's lawyer, right?
Yeah, well, this is also this is the era where you remember Julia Roberts was supposed to be able to write the Pelican Brief. This goes into that same era of hot people playing lawyers who, are trying to, I don't know what they're trying to do. But then they get this amazing house, like this like kind of great room. And
by the way, I noticed that Charlize drank 2 Cokes. While she was sitting and doing nothing on a sofa waiting for her
eats
husband
Popeye
to return.
chicken. I mean,
I'm pretty sure that's not how you look if you spend your day on a couch drinking Cokes.
I can vouch for that.
She, though, they've established her as a vivacious, intelligent. She has a job. She is kind of her own sort of power woman in
Florida.
That has to be established because you want to see that she has a downfall at some point in this film. So, yeah. The arrogance of a mediocre white man walking into a jury selection where he tells the power lawyers exactly what to do, and obviously it turns out well again. He wins his little case, and that's when he gets to meet the owner of the firm, John Milton.
Yes.
Hello.
Wow.
Hello, sir. With the wide ties that come way down past the waistband of
very Trumpian.
Was that a 90s thing? Wide ties?
It was a 90s thing. And very long ties, as Tracy said, the baggy pleated pant, boxy jacket look with incredible shoulder pads. A note on this is that apparently the director, when he met Keanu had just been in a motorcycle accident and had put on 25 pounds and was kind of overweight and knocked up and not looking his best. And they thought he was too fat for the role. And so he lost all of the weight. So by the time he actually shows up, I think he and Charlize are wearing the same pant size in this film. He is so thin.
God. He's real thin. Yeah, that's horrible. That's why in so many of his movies, like if you really pay attention, like John Wick, the way he moves himself is a man who's got a severe neck injury that he's like, he does these things.
Yeah.
And impersonators always go with that particular movement to sell Keanu Reeves.
But these
a little twitchy. Yes.
God bless him. The guy is cursed. I mean, his personal life is tragedy after tragedy after tragedy. And he remains really, like, at least as far as his PR is concerned, he's really nice. And he sounds like the kind of guy you'd want to work with.
He donates. I mean, it's amazing.
Even in this film, he took a massive pay cut. He was offered Speed 2.
That's right.
He did not take Speed 2, and he chose to do this instead at a very low rate because they needed to pay John Milton his salary to do the film.
Yeah. Which is kind of, it's again, very generous, very crazy. But the sets on this thing, like, you've got all these kind of different religious glyphs. It's like these huge things that he's walking into, these doors, these sets. And then one of my favorite aspects, you alluded to the CGI of very 1997, is that Milton lets him in, and he has like infinity pools on the top of a building with no rails. Where it's almost like Manhattan is at his feet. Is he kind of walking on water? Like what I don't know what visual imagery.
I was also wondering because like at one point Keanu Reeves gets to that edge that's flush with the waterfall.
Yeah.
And he's like, whoa. And I'm like, where the fuck is all that water going?
Yeah. It's like
It's just pouring onto the street, like
It is.
let's
just
go with
dumping.
that. But it's funny because you get the sense that he's being watched, he's been recruited, they know about his success record, and then they hand him this. It's almost like it's a test case, right?
Right.
Where it's like Delroy Lindo in an early role, is caught on tape, under the religious defense where he's slaughtering a goat because it's a film with
No
Satan.
one leans into shit like Lindo.
No, he's very serious.
Like he does everything without fucking around. It doesn't matter what part you give him, he's not fucking around. He will make it real.
He's in it to win it. But
Yeah.
he, once again, our hot Florida lawyer goes in and he, I guess just glamours and the jury, and he gets Delroy Lindo off, even though he's seen literally doing things on tape, but whatever.
Well, this is the first inkling of sci-fi effect as well, with the tongue and the nails, and this is where you learn that something might be happening.
Right, something is a little bit off and supernatural. And you have Pacino, who it's supposed to be the next scene after they win the case, but he's like different outfit and he's wearing a hat. But they talk a little bit about like the rules, and they don't your vanity might be an issue. Kevin, Keanu's character, right? Don't let him see you coming. He's like Delroy Lindo, bazillionaire. He just lives like that. And Kevin's like, really? And so he's like slowly being pulled into the Pacino's, layer of whatever.
Always take the subway.
Always take the idea that he wouldn't take a limousine, that he's descending.
Which if you're rich is stupid. Why would you take the subway?
Correct.
It smells bad there.
But it's
I've
also
been
funny
on
because
it.
he's a creature of the subways and going into the circles of whatever.
Right. It's
Right.
And he has to almost get stabbed by another stereotypical character.
Yes.
Where he then establishes that he speaks like every language as he's speaking Chinese on the street, and
right.
He's got it all.
In the subway, he tells that one guy to
he
about his green duvet is
the wife is cheating on you, go and kill her basically because you have a box cutter. But you could tell he's doing this stuff, and Keanu's like, I don't know what you're saying. He's like, oh, I just said that you'd kick his ass. It doesn't.
Yeah.
Keanu goes because he's the smart Florida man, so he just goes with whatever he's being told, and so that guy gets off presumably to kill somebody, and Pacino's already starting to chew the scenery like invigorating, and so
it is like to be an actor and to get to do what Pacino did in this movie and a lot of other movies is like, wow, that'd be great to be celebrated on. Like if I did what he does, hired for the same part, I would be fired.
Probably so. But I love that while he's trying to be the master of the universe and study at the feet of John Milton, and no one seems to make an allusion to like John Milton. Like that's kind of, it's like, my name is Franz Kafka. Nice to meet you. I mean, like someone would say something in the real world if you had a name that, like, anyway. But so while that's happening, we cut to the ladies. Most importantly, we cut to young Charlize, who is basically befriended by her next door neighbor / wife of somebody else who works at Milton's firm, who's trying to teach her how to decorate. This kind of prefigures Goop for me, like where we talk about different colors of what your palette means. And, it's like, again, let's go. Only women only care about,
But it's like the thing I don't like about this montage sequence is Charlize clearly wants some kind of green.
Clearly.
And her friend, who has weird hands just beneath her flesh, rubbing her in weird ways, is a total douchebag about the color green.
Yeah.
Like
while wearing green in every shot.
Yeah.
She's trying to upstage. What an asshole.
It is the beginning of the breaking down of Charlize and Marianne. The breaking down of Marianne and her confidence, and starting to have her question all of her decisions, really.
And it's like this big thing is like, okay, now I've got to be the wife of, and I'm meeting the other wives of.
She puts so much pressure on herself to be the like classic American wife in a patriarchal society. She's working really hard to do that.
And she's awkward even, and I love the way even this is like, you know, even in a still, you can see that Charlize is playing, I'm nervous, I'm uncomfortable, I'm fidgety, I'm not quite fitting in. Like, she's really good. I mean, just standing there, it's like,
she's good.
Don't leave me alone.
Jeffrey Jones is
Kevin, don't leave me alone.
Yes, her whole thing is do not leave me alone at this party. I don't want to be with these vipers. I don't know anybody. Be by my side, which is not a weird thing to ask of your spouse, right? When you're hanging out with people who, again, I think these people grow up to be go to White Lotus together. I really do. They're just like so annoying. I want to stab all of them.
Yeah.
Ironically, Kim and I put this together last night. The two gals who are here with Charlize must be New York actresses because they both figure kind of memorably in the original Sex and the City series, and so they show up. So they've been
those two are like character actresses that we should celebrate on the same level of that guy. They're that ladies or that gals or whatever you call them.
So then
we don't celebrate that enough.
She's at the party. And then talk to us about this scene, which I think is setting up a lot of trauma.
Super gross.
This is a disgusting scene where she actually meets Milton for the first time, and he decides that he's going to talk about her hair. And he certainly wouldn't want to touch her hair himself because you don't touch a woman's hair. Right. But everyone at the party is watching as well. And he convinces her that she should cut and color her hair. So in the next scene, after there's like the tantrum of you left me alone for 3 hours, what's wrong with you, you piece of shit, husband, is when she shows up with the new haircut and she's having a moment.
She kind of goes shopping.
Want to talk about her having the moment?
She has a moment and he calls it traumatic. He's like,
before we go too far though, one of the elements where Kevin does leave her alone. So while his boss is basically making his wife uncomfortable and telling her how to look. And by the way, hi, Pliskin. When you look like Charlize, maybe men don't need to say anything because she looks like Charlize. So there's that, especially if you're wearing the toupee that, you know, Pacino's got.
Yeah, hello.
Right? So there's that. But they set up immediately at the same party who works in the law firm, the great Connie Nielsen, right? You know, she's kind of about ready to do Gladiator and Good Things. She's kind of like.
And Basic and The Hunted.
Yes, let's not forget those classics as well. But you know, you set her up again, going to Kim's point earlier, where the CGI fake background. Clearly, we're on a soundstage with a badly lit, you know, false kind of background there. But he's clearly Keanu is turned on by her and interested in her, and then he gets a call to go up to the penthouse, which we're told Milton lives in, where the Masters of the Universe. We've also established that the Republican. Governor is here, so she gets that. But there's a line, and I think
prominent Republicans.
The most prominent Republicans are there. Not a surprise, but I think you have a clip that we should probably put here because there's line. There's a line where like Donald Trump was supposed to be here, but I guess he had a meeting, which I think is intentional because Kim found out some interesting trivia about when we get to Craig T. Nelson. Kim, where was that shot? Kim knows.
In Trump Tower,
in his
penthouse.
So here's Donald Trump agreeing to rent out his penthouse, the gold.
If they mention him in the movie,
but they clearly say because Craig T. Nelson is playing a version of
Trump,
of a developer who has problems with the ladies, doesn't pay his bills, is a piece of shit, and has Satan as a lawyer. I don't want to say Roy Cohn, but perhaps. And so they shot it. So here's Trump loading out for money. Yeah, you could totally have this piece of shit live in my place. Just make sure that I'm not conflicted with him. Make sure that I'm I think that's my theory. They're like, oh, Trump was going to be here, but he was busy. So he gets to be talked about, but he's not Craig T. Nelson. I think that's probably probably connected. But I think you might have a film club. You have a
Works
film
for me.
Don't you
Works
have
for me.
that? I think you have that scene, Todd.
You have a
Yeah,
clip.
here's the clip of the mention of Donald Trump.
Donald Trump was supposed to be here, but he had a business emergency. Probably Mort Zuckerman.
Mort. Now, did you look up Mort Zuckerman? Because I had to replay that scene 87 times. I couldn't understand what it was saying.
No.
And I looked it up because I put the subtitles on, and it just says Donald Trump is supposed to be here, but he had a business emergency, and they don't translate what she says after that.
Oh.
And it's this guy named Mort Zuckerman, who at the time in that like late 90s period had a business rivalry with Donald Trump, and they were very public about shitting on each other. Like, and that would be in the newspapers. Maybe back then it was like, it was in the newspapers, and maybe Howard Stern would bring it up on talk radio, that kind of thing.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what it was. It was a businessman, and he was in a like a business war with this guy.
Right.
And they were shitting on each other, and that's what that joke was.
I love how they're trying to be like so authentic in the supernatural.
It's so specific. Like, we're gonna dedicate this amount of film time to this reference that no one will understand in 2 years. Never mind.
Well, but again, there's always this weird juxtaposition between the supernatural and that. So there's the hot girl Connie Nielsen, right? And then we go right into, like Kim was saying, you know, Charlize is suddenly like, I can't believe you left me alone, and I told you not to. But he gets, this is the call where there's the Trump character, where Pacino introduces Kevin to this terrible client of his who's been found with, what was it, the maid, daughter, wife, there's 3 bodies are somewhere near him.
Yeah, he killed his wife and
Allegedly.
his stepson.
Yeah.
But it, like, the movie alludes to, he really wants to see his stepdaughter. So that suggested a lot, because then later on we were dealing with that kind of step incest.
Yeah, we don't want to say Ivanka, but
step incest is a thing, everybody.
Maybe, but so he's trying. He convinces him, even though he looks like he's 12. You should represent me. I don't lose. And then you've got this thing where the girls are out shopping. So you've got this. I don't know any. I don't think gay or straight women who behave this way in public, but I don't know, whatever. But Charlize starts to see like stuff, right, Kim? It's like there's some kind of vision or something going on where there's
does see the demon ghoulish face transition of one of them, and then definitely the hands running underneath the skin all over the body, and she freaks out, but not before she's asked to feel up the boobs.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Are real
or not real?
What the fuck?
Women do this all the time, Todd.
You don't.
Oh, they do?
We all, that is exactly what we do in dressing rooms while
it's not cool if I go in there and look at it.
Yeah, it's just not a thing.
It's the great frustration of society. It's that I can't go in and look at you guys.
Dressing room. She leaves them there, goes home, has a meltdown, and this is where Keanu shows what a douche he really is by saying, this must be due to your bad haircut.
Right.
You didn't really see anything. It's just that you have a bad haircut.
Oh, no. Which is like, again, I think men need to just, as a rule of thumb, maybe just don't talk about women's hair. Like, I don't know. It's like, if you don't like it, you don't have to comment. Like, scroll right on by.
But also,
why would you comment?
You're crying on
you
the
don't
floor.
like it. I also understand if women don't want you going, hey, your hair is great. It's like, shut up. Okay. But like,
but then goes from
Why
basically,
would you feel compelled to go,
yeah,
your hair looks like shit?
yeah, you're my
I don't
wife.
know.
It'll be okay. It'll grow out. You're like,
Why are
what?
you wearing it like
But then
that?
he starts to see, which is really the only time he seems to have early on indicators. As he thinks he's like going to be making love to his wife, Connie Nielsen shows up. And of course, her hair is permed out just like the hair that Charlize just cut off, because I guess that's about as deep as the director wanted to go in terms of characterization for these two simple haircut. But this is the part where we then go into Trump's penthouse, where you've got this like sleazy developer who doesn't pay his bills and has a lot of bad not probably false charges with women. And Keanu is basically like, this is Trump's actual honest to God penthouse. If you've seen his tacky photo spreads, like you'll recognize this from Melania pictures. But he basically, the plot point here is not just that he's playing a facsimile of Trump, I think, but it's to get a gun, because we need Keanu to have a gun because the third act requires him to. So that's set up in the scene. But then we have like this really awkward thing where we have Florida meeting John Milton, where mom, right?
Mom comes to visit and runs into Milton and his lady friends for the evening, who also have a lot of breast cupping and massaging.
Yeah. It's just as one does in the Upper West Side elevator.
There's so much of this in this movie, and when Hillary and I walked out of the theater, I was the one who was more offended by it than she was. And I was like, what are you talking about?
You can't take this seriously. I mean,
like, you're the one who gets mad at me when I take you to Revenge of the Nerds type shit.
But this scene sets up a big plot point, which is that Keanu thinks that mom has never been to New York and doesn't let her actually say if she's ever been to New York before or not. So we're left thinking, mom has never been to the big city.
And mom feels very uncomfortable in the big city, and it's trying to be played off as if, she's the little southerner, doesn't feel good in the big city. She has to leave early, and there's something a little bit off, a little clunky.
Mom's going home.
Mom's going home, and Charlize is losing his mind. So again, you have Kevin, who isn't paying attention to his mother. So already he's a piece of shit. But then we see another Donald Trump friend, right? Don King. Also a convicted murderer, has a cameo in this movie where the Master hands, and because of course men go to see boxing and then they go to see
we love boxing. We love to watch other people who aren't us kick the fuck out of each other.
And whatever Pacino's wearing and the globe that comes and goes from scene to scene. But while these guys are all having their like big night out, this is where I want Kim to try to explain what the hell this sequence is. It's not the poster from Suspiria, but it's close.
Oh, we have this clip.
Should we set up the clip?
Kim, it's up to you. Like,
no, please, Todd, go ahead.
You want to see the clip? All right, here you go.
Hello? Who's there? I've got a knife. Oh, Jesus. Baby, how'd you get dear. Are you okay? Where's your mommy? Are you okay? You ain't got no mommy? What do you got there? What are you playing with? What are you playing with? Huh?
So good.
What's fun about that is just a little note is when Hillary's walking down the hall with the knife, and the poster in the background is her mom,
Kitten in
and
the
what she's wearing is a nightgown that her mom gave her that she never would have worn. She was like, I'll keep this because someday I'll have a reason to wear it. Here it
So
was.
perfect.
Wow. So Charlize goes completely apoplectic and thinks that they've stolen
My ovaries.
like what?
My
Like it's
ovary.
cold. It's like
Oh no.
my sister had 7 kids, and oh my god! And you're like easy,
Yeah.
Florida. Easy Florida. So all this crazy stuff is happening. Continuing on, like Keanu gets the bad guy, the Donald Trump proxy, off because he hasn't paid attention to his wife. They're like, oh, by the way, Kevin, like your wife seems to be like, in a church somewhere. Maybe you can go and find her. So then suddenly we do this hard cut where Charlize is wearing, I think, a pink comforter in the church.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then she takes it off and she's covered in scars.
Yeah.
So she tells Kevin that Milton has been with her, or not Milton, that what's his name has been with her all afternoon, and she said no, and but he has definitely been wasting the afternoon away, and it's clearly not true because he's been with Kevin instead, and so how can he be in 2 places at once?
She's crazy. Can't believe
And she stands up and
He's nuts. I mean, it's a lady. She's crazy.
She's clearly covered in defensive marks, cuts, bruises. Definitely looks, I don't know what kind of sex they were having, but God help her.
It's not good. It's not good sex.
It's not good.
I mean, unless you sign contracts and it's all consensual.
So Kevin checks her into the hospital.
The psych ward.
She definitely is losing her shit.
Yeah.
And Tracy, where are we at in our
got
photo montage at this point?
Yeah, you've got this juxtaposition of like, much like De Niro and Angel Heart before, he can, Milton can go in and out of churches, doesn't matter, whatever. One of my favorite sight gags, trailer moment, is when the holy water, Pacino puts his finger in it, it starts to boil, right? So you start to get, okay, I think it's, in case you weren't clear on who he was.
Well, that follows, there's a funeral.
Yes.
For one of the men at the firm
Jeffrey
who has been brutally murdered by demons, i.e. homeless men,
right.
In the park while jogging in the wrong direction.
Which seems a harsh punishment for going the wrong way on a track.
And somehow Charlize has witnessed that murder as well. It has put her in a nearly catatonic state. So here she is. Mom is there.
Mom comes back.
Oh, we've jumped ahead.
Well, she's still there.
It's probably good to jump ahead at this point.
doesn't want to be here so badly that she takes her own life. And then we go to the scene
in the hardest way possible. I mean, like
Really a brutal
like,
killing.
it's not even Harry Carey. Like Harry Carey is more reasonable than slashing your own throat.
Well,
like, how do you do that?
But this
How do you do that?
Somebody who really doesn't want to be there anymore because she's convinced she's mad and no one believes her, including her husband. Yeah. And so then, somehow in his Constantine outfit, he has a little bit of blood on him, which would have been a geyser. And this is when the mother reveals to Keanu the secret, right, Kim, which is
that she has been to New York previously. Milton did father Keanu, and he forces her, say it, Mom, say it, say it. So
it's so true. And so he finally is like, oh my God, I'm working for my dad. And of course the mom, once again,
I didn't get here on my own merit. Oh, fuck.
Like, but again, the mother also like, I just wanted you to think that you were, recognized for your talent. I didn't want you to think that, it's because of who your father, because it absolutely was. Again, mediocre white man lifted up by who his dad is. That's absolutely the story. But the mom's like, well, anyway. So then you have this really bizarre moment where he has this epiphany, and then he walks out like he's in the opening scene from a Mega Man, but on the different coast where you will never see New York outside of a pandemic look like this, where you start to realize something is very off, not just because Keanu loses the love of his life and doesn't seem to ever reference her again or cry or is upset or anything with losing his wife, but he has no normal reaction to this sequence. And he immediately goes to confront the boss. And this is when we find out what's the deal behind them and who Connie really is.
Which is the stepsister and hopefully to be child carrier of the Antichrist.
That makes sense. If we have half brother and half sister.
But is it half brother or is it adopted?
I think
like half. So they're
half.
actually related by blood. So
they're related by Al Pacino, but different mothers. But his whole thing is like, you guys, I've been disappointed. I've had really shitty children forever. Looking at you, Eric, and Don Jr. But he's like, you are my two favorite creations. And so you guys, but it has to be free will because they're still trying to adhere to this free will concept in the movie. And since you've been turned on.
Yeah, what is that? Why do they think that Satan's all about consent?
I don't think it's about consent. I think it's about like you have to choose to fall. And this goes back to like Milton. And if you read Paradise Lost, I mean, one of the literary criticisms of Paradise Lost is that Satan's a really interesting character and God's kind of boring. And I think the filmmakers in this, and certainly probably the novelist, took that to the nth degree, which is why I'm like, Pacino's the most exciting thing in this. And your hero, who's not a hero, is really boring. So it's kind of on path, although what Taylor Hackford swore that this is more, Ghost Faust than it is Paradise Lost in terms of a main influence. But whatever the case may be, so then you have Pacino, trying to kind of woo him and you have to fall. And so you're not really sure because now we're not sure if Keanu is a faithful narrator or where he's at because he hasn't really reacted to Charlize's death, which he witnessed. And so you don't really know which way he's going to go, but this is where the aforementioned gun, right? This is the Chekhovian gun that we set up. And so he's like, Pacino figures it out a little too late. Keanu blows his own brains out, right? And so then there's this really weird, like, brother-sister thing where I think she's intended to be Ophelia. Like there's famous paintings of Ophelia, right? Drowning. Yeah. But they sort of shoot her this way, and then she goes right from that to the corpse. And then somehow Pacino turns into, like, I guess the Archangel Lucifer here. And then there's a weird cut. Kim, what was your interpretation when you go from this, and then we do a hard cut, and we're back in the beginning of the movie at the trial with the little girl where he's, is this real? Is it in his head? What was your take on the framing of this?
I don't know that I understand your question exactly, but
did it really
in my mind, it is that that we've gone, that he's dreamt it all, like
it.
he is back there making the choice of what to do again.
Right.
It's a Wonderful Life. It's that.
It is.
It's exactly that.
And the gross guy who doesn't wash his hands after he uses the urinal tempts him with yet another temptation because he clearly now has learned his lesson the first time around, but the vanity, the favorite sin, just can't let it go, and gives in yet again to temptation.
I'll give you an interview so I can get fame in the paper. And so we go right from this guy who morphs into, of course, our friend Milton with yet another toupee. Yeah. Devil's
And
Advocate.
that's it. That's
a great movie. Let's do final thoughts. I mean, like for me, like I said, the first time I saw it, I was aggravated, but I was also in an anti Keanu Reeves place at that time. Because Keanu Reeves is what's the phrase? Terrible. He's a terrible actor. But he's so sweet and dedicated to crap like this. And because he said he would do this, then Charlize Theron got a place to actually show what good acting is. So it all kind of synergistically works for me.
Yeah.
And just like on pure viewing prowess, it's very fun. It's a very fun, stupid, overly long movie, but I have no complaints. It's entertaining throughout.
Yeah. What about you, Kim? Final thoughts? Why do you think it endures and is still fun for you?
You know, it's filled with beautiful people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And how can you turn away from that? Honestly, it is giggle fun for sure. It's so over the top. You wonder, was someone actually directing this, or did it just happen that way?
Oh.
And I think, I love looking at them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think
I agree. The prettiness scale of this movie is intense. The supporting players, Connie Nielsen, they're all gorgeous. Like she's one step down from Charlize Theron, in gorgeousness, but the gorgeousness is off the scales. It's true. It is eye candy. You can't ask for more.
Every step of the way.
And I think it's fun because I also think it's a transition into, we're about to get into multiple sequel-itis, IP, Marvel, blah, blah, blah. And it's this last gasp where the guy who got the Oscar for Driving Miss Daisy Best Picture is now doing this, like about 10 years later. This is a big calling card for Charlize. She never stopped working after this. It solidified Keanu as a leading man. It's a $60 million in 1997 movie. So it's lush. You're shooting on location in Manhattan. It is absolutely that Clintonian conspicuous consumption America when we were clearly still a democracy, like time capsule where everyone got to wear fabulous 90s suits. And it was like we were optimistic, some of us, like going into the new millennium in the next century. And I think we
were still riding the 80s cocaine wave. We were like,
yes, there's a lot of that.
Why is it getting smaller now? Closer to
I think there was a lot of that in this. So I think it's funny, and it's I think Kim's right. It's so gorgeous and everyone, and it is. I think Taylor Hackford also one of the most gorgeous movies without James Woods, of course. Everybody else in Against All Odds, which is a remake of an old film noir, right? But like You look at like Rachel Ward and Jeff Bridges and Against All Odds, which Taylor Hackford not only directed that, but the music video for the Phil Collins song that we all know and haunts us in karaoke parties, perhaps. Like everyone's so pretty in that, and the locations are pretty. I think Taylor just has like a great eye, and so while it might seem dated because of the era in which they were made, I think it is part of what their enduring fun is, because it's just eye candy, the whole movie.
Yeah, but don't. I mean, remember James Woods' house burned down in the palace.
But
it didn't. It didn't. He just cried about it happening. Oh no!
He made it up. It's weird that the.
Oh no! Should we do Be Bad or Be Best?
Yes.
So Kim, you're basically the judge, jury, and executioner here. We will present titles of movies to you, and you tell us if they're so bad they should not be seen, or they're so bad it's awesome and everyone should experience.
Yeah, they're Be Best. And if you haven't seen the movie, you can judge the title, the font, the poster art, anything you want, and just go with it, make it up.
Yeah,
All
it's all
right.
good. I'll start, Tracy, if you're cool with that.
Go for it.
My Be Bad or Be Best title is another Satan type movie with babies, The Unborn, with Brooke Adams, who by the way Hillary refers to as your Brooke Adams every time she turns up in it. Oh, look, Todd, it's your Brooke Adams, because I'm a big fan of Brooke Adams. The Unborn. Kim.
I have not seen this film, but I will say, as a someone who owns a book called "Why Don't You Have Children," I would never have one. I'm gonna go with Be Bad.
For political reasons, that's totally fair.
Totally fair.
It might work for you though, on those grounds, as a terrifying horror movie.
Yeah.
Awesome. I will check it out.
Tracy, are you like you?
I saw it. I remember really liking. I like her too. I think she's really cool. I also think that the tagline, like having a baby could be a scream, is like hilarious, and I love all of that, and I just think Be Best because I have a fun memory of it, and she's great. Like, so I'll see anything.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun B movie garbage, which Brooke Adams was a part of. Like, she lived on this like B movie cusp of really great ones that became A-list movies.
Age of the Night Snatcher 78.
Yeah. And then like she was in the stuff, I don't know.
Stuff. I love this stuff. Okay, so mine, I know Kim saw because we saw it together, but I'm curious if you think this is Be Best or Be Bad based on how we define it here. I don't know if you've seen it, Todd. You probably have. This is currently playing on Shudder. The Bayou, brought to you by your friends at Vertical Entertainment, which means it went straight to video. It's a killer gator film with Blonde, who is a scientist who has to take off her glasses in the second act.
Should be called Horizontal Entertainment.
Flatline works.
I loved this film because who doesn't love an alligator on meth? I mean, really, an alligator on meth is eating her own egg so that she could bite someone's arm off is like,
yeah. Talk about the Unborn.
Fantastic goodness. It was really, I'm going to go with Be Best on this one just because it's so bad. It's actually good.
Yeah.
It's one of those Sci-Fi Channel movies that works despite itself.
It's delicious. I loved it too. Todd, have you seen it?
No, I couldn't watch it freely, so I haven't watched it. Okay. But I do. It's one of it's on my radar of gator, shark, fish movies that I want to see for sure.
It is a lot of fun. It's like we were talking like snakes on a plane, cocaine bear, like meth gators. It's like
Yeah, but it can't have the production value of a
oh
cocaine.
no, this does not have universal buy-in. This does not.
Which is
Yeah.
part of its charm,
Yes.
really.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah, it's hard for me to get to those like low budget movies that work for me. I'm okay with a Sharknado, but when it's just like more basic level creature feature and it looks like shit, I have a harder time. I don't know.
The
why.
gators actually look pretty good in
Yeah.
this.
Oh, they
I'll
do.
give you there's some decent looking gators, and there is one kill near the end that is just so over the top, brutally amazing. It makes the movie worth watching.
Okay. I mean, I will watch it for
you
sure.
will dig it.
Yeah.
What,
Have you
what-
guys seen Bait 3D, the Australian shark movie where it's in a grocery store during a flood
No.
and the
No,
people
but
in
it
the grocery
sounds
store?
amazing.
Okay, so if you like this, and I haven't seen it, but if you like this, I'm guessing Bait 3D is a good choice.
Okay, because we saw a great gator in the house with Alexander Aja's movie.
Oh, Crawl is great.
Which was
But I mean, Crawl is like not straight to video stuff.
no, that
That's
was
like-
well done. Yeah, I liked. We
yeah,
had
that was
like that
yeah,
too.
Crawl's
What do
great.
you got, Ty? What do you got for when?
All right, we gotta do when bad films happen to good actors.
What do you got?
My bad film happening to a good actor. Okay, and let me just say this, that I feel like a lot of bad films have happened to this good actor, and I feel like she was victimized by Hollywood, and she both tried to, like, smartly, I feel like, tried to make that victimization work on an exploitation film level. But even this movie, which I own, obviously, Sorceress with Linda Blair is like so unfair to Linda Blair. She didn't deserve to be an interstitial element in a softcore porn witch movie. I don't know.
Very specific.
And you can say maybe Linda Blair did to herself. Maybe, it was her own fault, but I don't know. I feel bad about what happened to Linda Blair after The Exorcist.
Yeah.
I can't help it.
Now she rescues animals. We love her.
No, and she's a good person. But like, she was fucked up on that movie, and she has a legacy of movies to back that up, that she was fucked up on that movie.
Well, that qualifies. I decided to go for there's a reason I think Spielberg's not known for his comedies. I don't know that he has a sense of humor. I think this is 1941. Dan Aykroyd, John Pesci, Ned Beatty, Christopher Lee, Murray Hamilton, John Candy, Slim Pickens, Nancy Allen, Tim Matheson, and Akira Kurosawa's Toshiro Mifune, and they're all wasted in a comedy that doesn't work at all.
Oh my God.
No, it's
One of
great.
the best casts ever, and it's like,
I love it.
Oh, it's a disaster of biblical proportions.
It's got that guy with that crazy voice who fall and the Ferris wheel falls off.
It's like, but it's a great cast, so it's worth seeing, because it's like, look at Spielberg try to do, like, this is his follow up to like Jaws and Close Encounters.
Yeah, he was going full hog on the like comedy train, and he doesn't understand comedy. It's
Which is where Crystal Skull comes in, but that's a different conversation.
anyway.
Well, okay, so what do we have? This is so the boost. We end on a positive note.
Yes.
What do you
I'll put up that. Here we go. The boost. It's the boost. Tracy and I just and Kim, please, if you have titles you'd like to add. But we're just saying titles of movies maybe you forgot about, maybe you don't know about, but that we really like. I'll go with mine, which is okay. So this is a devil movie. I like to go thematically with my choices. So it's devil movie. It's B level. It's got Christopher Walken.
Oh,
It's got Eric Stoltz.
Yes.
amazing.
Oh
It's
yeah.
called The Prophecy.
I love this film so much.
I do too.
This movie is like a B movie, like for the 90s. It's a 90s B movie, like rabbit trick. It just, they kind of do it right. And it's weird because the whole time you're like, I don't think I should like this. I think I should be offended by this, but it manages to be scary and creepy and very funny, like that whole Adam Goldberg subplot where he has to dig grave. He's like, "Fuck off" to Christopher Walken. Adam Goldberg is like, "Fuck off, you asshole." It's so funny to me. So yeah, I'm 100% behind. And I will get on board with the entire straight to video franchise afterwards.
Yeah.
Jennifer Beal is in the second one. The fourth and fifth one are like, but they're fine. Like if you need the fix, they don't have Walken in them. So
Right.
You know, what are you
All right.
gonna do? What do you got, Tracy?
My boost is again, this is a self-promotional Wednesday. This is a film that hasn't been released yet, but I've seen it. My company produced it, Mage Entertainment. And if yours was about the devils, this is about a real-life angel true story. It's called Audrey's Children. This is about the great Audrey Evans. When we talk about cancer stages 1, 2, 3, 4, this is a smart Brit who worked at Chalk in the 60s under C. Everett Koop before he would become Reagan's attorney or Surgeon General years later. But the staging cycle, and she was also a boss when it came to pediatric cancer, and she formed the Ronald McDonald House because it was her contention that Chalk was the best place to treat childhood cancer, but a lot of parents couldn't afford to stay, in Philly, and would have to cut it short. And so she basically figured out a way, which was harder than you would think because she was not only a Brit, but she was a woman and she was unmarried. So no one would actually let her buy a house, have her own credit card, or even have her own lease. So she had to do all of this for children behind the 8 ball in a very sexist, still male-driven world. So it's a film about, how can we fight cancer and win? Scientists
And how can we get men out of the way?
How can we get men out of the way and sexism? So it's very current, even though it's set in 1967. And it's the kind of film where the Ronald McDonald House is joining us as partners. We are going to get on several hundred screens through Blue Harbor. We're independently basically four-walling it in big cities. I'll start posting it, but it's the kind of film that Miramax would have made and won Oscars for. Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones plays Audrey Evans. If there was any justice, she would be nominated next year for an Oscar. She's that good in this. It's a very inspiring story. I know when you hear period piece, woman, science, cancer, it's really a feel-good movie because of what this woman achieved and her legacy. And we were lucky enough to work with her where she read the script, signed off on it, got to transition knowing her story was being told. Philadelphia opened up the hospitals and the locations to us because they wanted her story to be made. So it was made with the right spirit. It's a good time to celebrate science and women who want to cure people in this planet. I'm really proud of my guys for figuring out how to get this made in this time. And we really need everybody to go to the theater and pay to see it if you can, because a week or two and then it's gone. So we really
when it comes out on streaming, don't rent it, buy it. Buy it. And if you can get physical media, get physical media.
Yeah, this is a good one. This is what we used to do really well in this town. So it would be nice if it got a little bit of love at the box office. So again, I'll put it up again. Audrey's Children. You can
watch the trailer. It is. It's a really good trailer, and I sent it to a friend of mine saying, "Hey, this is coming out. You should take a look." And she wrote back and said, "Oh my God, I laughed and cried just watching the trailer." So
yeah,
that's amazing.
And Jeff, by the way, she owns this movie. Like she's so good in this. Just for her, I'd like to have another. Again, you see young Charlize in this popcorn film we talked about. This is the lady who should be getting a lot more roles, and if we can get some box office for her, she'll help get things financed. continue to tell these kinds of stories. So it's like, if you want better representation of the government, you have to vote for people who actually represent you. If you want to see more films like this, you have to pay to see them in the theater. It's a political
That's absolutely true. Your dollar is what matters.
It's all about the money,
Nothing
people.
else
Let's do
does.
it.
Your dollar matters to me. Get my book Murder Valley, and get Tracy's book
Whatever.
Cinema Bizarro. It's the sequel to the Giant Beast Cinema book. It's amazing and great. Kim, what should people buy of yours?
No need to buy anything except me. I need a job. So, hey, please.
Buy Kim, please. But
Hire
not in a weird way. Like,
No.
Yes.
Yes, this does not came out wrong. Thank you so much for playing in our Demented
Thank
Sandbox.
you, Kim. This was great.
You
What
are
a
awesome.
great,
For letting me
great
join
movie
you
to choose.
guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Welcome to the crazy My Favorite Shitty Movie family.
welcome to it. It gets crazier.
It does. It does.
It doesn't let up. It's woo! All right, everybody.
Thanks everybody for watching.
We'll
and
see you next week.
Bye.
Peace out.